Cool.
All right, welcome everyone to episode 3 of Religion and Resilience. We're glad that you're here. I'm Chaplain Williams, and I've got a distinct honor to have Imam Muhammad Fasih here with us today. And I'm going to introduce him and obviously let him speak. Muhammad, but very grateful to have you on the show today. And so just a great opportunity to hear from you and to learn from you. Before we get into that, though, just want to remind viewers, feel free to subscribe to the channel. You can click that subscribe button and you'll be able to get notified when these live episodes come on. So we've done 2 now so far. You've probably seen on the site. We've done 2 episodes, and again, our next episode will be on the 25th. And we'll have another chaplain. Let me just grab the flyer. I'm going to show a picture of it here. This is the flyer for February. So on February 25th, we're going to have Judd Hu, who's a chaplain at Heartland Hospice, and also a DMin candidate, Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary. He's going to be on with us on the 25th at 12, or at, yes, I believe at 12 o'clock. But let me get back to you, Muhammad. So just a little bit about Muhammad here. He was born in Chicago, Illinois, and raised in Northern California. And he's the father of 5 children, which you and I were talking earlier before the show started. That's so unique that we both have 5 children.
Yeah.
And in fact, our oldest are both 20, turning 21 in the same month, in May.
Yep.
And 3 days apart, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're that's pretty cool to find that out.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like you're also a coffee lover as well. And your title, Sheikh, so Sheikh Fasih. Am I saying your last name correct? Is it Fasih?
Yes, you are. Fasih,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so he's had the opportunity to visit different countries around the globe. He studied Islamic sciences at Jamia Ulum Islamia Binori Town, Karachi, Pakistan in 2004. And after 8 years of studying the foundational Islamic sciences with erudite scholars, Sheikh Fasih completed a formal Alamiya degree, which is the equivalent of a master's degree in Arabic and Islamic studies. So welcome to the show, Muhammad.
Thank
you. Glad to have you here. I'll give you just a moment to maybe introduce yourself a little bit further. Can you tell us some more about who you are and what you're doing right now in ministry?
Yeah, so thank you, Chaplain Williams. This is an honor. Thank you for setting this up. And yeah, basically, you pretty much summed it all up. I was raised out here, and currently I am serving as a chaplain at San Quentin State Prison. And there is a very large population throughout the prisons. A lot of inmates actually accept Islam inside while they're doing time. I personally at San Quentin deal with a lot of lifers, and I'm just trying to rectify their lives and play that role of giving them that spiritual help. Hopefully, if they were to be free men at one point, that they can face society with that spiritual insight. So that's what I'm currently doing right now. I've been serving at San Quentin since the end of 2018, the beginning of 2019. And yeah, and it's going really well. I was just there earlier today.
Yeah, what is your role there, Muhammad, as far as, are you a chaplain? Do you serve primarily within the Muslim community in the prison, or are you a kind of a spiritual chaplain for everyone?
Yeah, so the technical answer to that is I am the chaplain for the Muslims. But with that being said, like say that I have to attend to someone who is not of my faith, then we being Muslims, we believe that we are all from the progeny of Adam and Eve, and people are everyone wants the same thing, and so I definitely cater to the needs of anyone of any race or any religion for that effect. So if anyone is in like, if there was like a sometimes what we have to do is give people the bad news that a relative has passed, and if that person was not a Muslim, then I would definitely attend to them accordingly and kind of, share that moment with them and try my best to explain to them what has happened. Yeah, even if they were not of my faith. But yeah,
Right.
I serve for the Muslim community, and I'm also there for everyone else. Yeah.
I was fascinated by what you said, that there are many people who come to the prison who maybe didn't have faith or spirituality before, and then they end up converting to Islam. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And how has that come about? How do you?
So we are not supposed to solicit anyone, but it's never me. It's always them. They just come forward and they come to terms with our creed and our belief. They understand that we are coming from a background that shares views of the Jews and the Christians,
Mhm.
and there's an overwhelming population that is converting to Islam in the prison system.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
What
There's a
can
lot.
you give us? Can you? That's really fascinating. Can you share? So at San Quentin alone, what when you say overwhelming number?
So there was a time quite recently where San Quentin specifically was known as a reception center. What
Mm.
that means is that when an inmate would be coming out from like the county prison, the county jail,
Hmm.
they would go to a place like San Quentin, and then from San Quentin, they would be redirected to where they're going to spend the rest of their sentence.
I see.
So in that time frame, we would have to cater to inmates that would want to attend religious services. And those guys that would come up on Friday, like a day like this, a lot of them would not be Muslim, but by the time they would leave our chapel, we would have a lot of converts.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And it would have, I would say, like weekly, 4 to 6 people would convert to Islam.
Wow.
And it wouldn't just like, the notion is like a lot of those people are black folks, but
Hmm.
that's not what the case is. I don't know if that's because we're in California or what, but it would be people of all different types of ethnicities and races and all different types of backgrounds coming to Islam. Yeah.
Wow. No, Mohammed, when you say Islam, maybe just for viewers, could you give us a little bit of background on Islam,
Yeah.
and maybe the angle of Islam, or the specialty of Islam that you specifically
Yeah.
embrace?
So Islam is something that people, when they hear it, and I'm just going to be kind of frank here. So Islam and Muslims in this time and age, when people see someone like me or they hear something about Islam, they kind of take the definition of terrorism or something of that effect, right?
Mm,
And once again, I want to thank you, Chaplain Williams, because these types of programs kind of dismantle that. You know,
absolutely.
like we shouldn't forget, like Muhammad Ali, great. icon in the sports world here in America, and he was a Muslim, right? Dave Chappelle, Cat Stevens, all these people, um, they're Muslims, right? So Islam, what is Islam? Islam is from the three major religions. We have the Jews, Christians, and then you have Muslims. Islam spreads across the world from Indonesia, which is the biggest Muslim country, all the way to parts in Mexico, like Chiapas, Mexico, where there's Muslims over there. So if you can imagine the entire globe, Islam, and you drew a line from Indonesia all the way to Mexico, that would kind of sum up of where Muslims are at, and there's a lot of Muslims. What do we believe? We believe in one God. And in Arabic, God is known as Allah. Allah doesn't mean anything except God. It doesn't mean a moon god. It doesn't mean some far Arabian god or anything of that sort. It means the one and only God. That was the God that Moses was invoking. That was the God that Jesus, I think, was praying to. And that was the God that revealed the Quran to Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, our last prophet. What do we believe in that correlates us to Jews and Christians? Is that we believe in the Torah, right? Also known as the like the first Bible, you can almost say, right? Right, or the Old Testament, right?
Yeah.
We
Book of Moses.
The book of Moses, as it was revealed to Moses. We believe in the Psalms of David. We call it the Zabur. We believe in the Bible, which we call the Injil, that was revealed to Jesus. And we believe in the Quran, which sums all of these former books up, which was revealed to Muhammad. May peace and blessings be upon him. We believe in all of the prophets that were mentioned in the Old Testament and the Last Testament, which are Adam and Noah and Solomon and Abraham and Moses and Jacob and all of the prophets, Zachary, everyone, right?
Yeah.
What makes us different from Christians? We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe that his mother was Mary and that she was a virgin. And we also even believe that Jesus will come back. But we believe that Jesus, and I'm quoting from the Quran now, Isa kamithli Adam, khalaqahu min turabin, thumma qala lahu kun fayakun. What does that mean? That God makes a statement by saying Jesus is just like Adam. We created them from dust, and then we said be, and they became. Meaning to say that Adam didn't have a mother or a father. We as Muslims believe that that is an act of God. God can do whatever he wants. He wants to create someone without a mother. He can create them without a father. He can create them from nothing. And similarly, God is saying that he created Jesus without a father, only from the Virgin Mary, right? We don't believe that Jesus is God. And that is a very big factor when like to understand what's the difference in creed between Muslims and Christians specifically. Yeah. And then there's a lot of tenets in Islam, specifically 5, but the commonly known ones that people come across out here in America is that we don't eat pork, we don't drink alcohol. Does that mean that you won't find a Muslim that doesn't do these things? No, you'll find people who do all sorts of things.
Similar to other faiths as well.
Yeah.
Some people are more ingrained and more connected to their faith than others.
Exactly. So then you'll find people who do all sorts of things. And the thing that separates us is that we are obligated to pray 5 times a day. And there's no negotiation on that. It's a direct commandment wherever you are, that you are commanded to pray 5 times a day. There are intricacies to this, but the consensus and understanding is that that's what we do, and that separates us from a lot of other folks.
Yeah, that's maybe you can speak more to how that lines up too with a faithful Muslim, who the word Muslim means to submit, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Anyway, and so this idea of submitting to God in prayer 5 times a day, that's definitely an act of submission.
It is an act of submission in the greatest sense. Yeah.
I'm curious. Thank you for that background, because I think that really gives a clear picture of some of the basic tenets. The monotheistic stance, the Allah, and I'm curious, where do you see the role, especially so we have this younger generation right now that maybe it's different in your worldview, but it seems that there's a generation that's sort of dismissing religion as a word, or religiosity. But there's also studies, like on our first episode, we looked at how religiosity and activity in one's religion can actually increase their inner strength and resilience, and to get through hard times. And I can only imagine these prisoners in the prison there in San Quentin. Those are some hard times, and I'm curious if you could just talk to, what do you see the role of Islam, or the role of your faith in helping to contribute to building some of this resilience in people?
Yeah, so I want to kind of speak to the first part of your question about the generation.
Yeah.
And I hear that complaint from everyone. And it definitely exists in our communities as well. And I think it has a lot to do with people in general don't want to be told what to do. And I don't know, like, I found out, like, from our earlier conversation, we're kind of the same age. And growing up, we didn't have, right, the internet. You saw a time where we didn't have that, and then we had it, right? And I see a lot of parents struggle with, when should I be my child's friend? And when should I actually play the role of a parent? Right? And the reason why they kind of struggle with that is because I don't want to lose my child. Right? But it's like almost an extended overcorrection, and kids these days forget about not wanting to be told what to do. They can't even take simple constructive criticism. And we see that because of their engagement in the virtual world. Right? If you, like me and you, we didn't grow up necessarily very excited about how many likes we're going to have. Maybe if I hit like a grand slam or a home run, that was enough to, when I go to sleep and when I wake up, I'm going to be really happy. And then everyone's going to talk about it at school. Like, hey, you did that yesterday. Whereas today, it has to be, number one, promoted on the social media outlet that I did that. And number two, it has to have some of real life in there too. And I think that plays a lot into them not wanting to be told what to do because it's not having any it kind of sets them back as who they're trying to portray to the world on the virtual side, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So connecting this conversation to religion, now, especially in Islam, you are definitely going to be told what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
That necessarily might not be cool to everyone who follows you on Instagram, right? And that really hits home for a lot of these youngsters, right? For instance, in April, we are about to unfold on the holiest month throughout the year, which is the month of Ramadan, right? That month will require everyone who is of age to wake up and do a dry fast. That means no water and no food from sunset to sundown, right? I don't know how cool that will seem to a teenager going to high school when everyone's eating pizza and soda in front of him or her, right? Unless and a lot of it has to do with like an inferiority complex, right? So it's not always the coolest thing, and now I'm speaking not just for Muslims, for everyone, to be religious in their world, right? Even with the prisoners, sometimes you have like really hardcore men, right?
Right.
And then they find Jesus in their lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the other guys, I see that when they look at them, they say, "Oh man, forget about that guy, man. He's talking about stuff like he found God and all of that." I hear these conversations. What does that actually mean? That's not cool in our world.
Mm-hmm.
That he found God, right? But in reality, they have to understand that he doesn't want to be in prison anymore. He actually found something that he can rely on, right? He doesn't.
Interesting that he found something that can free him while he's still incarcerated. Found some freedom to his soul, if you will.
Right. And people don't want to hear that. It's like the media, the bad news and the crime always sells.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that kind of, spills on to, unfortunately, everyone else, including our younger generation. If it's not exciting, if it's not intriguing. Another thing that I've personally noticed about the younger generation is they always have to be entertained. It has to be entertaining. It cannot be studious. It cannot be academic. It has to be spontaneous. It has to be entertaining. It has to make someone do, I'm going to lift up my phone, this. And I got to catch the moment right now because it has to be something. Well, God, or, whether you're talking from the stance of the Bible or the Torah or whatever, that's not always going to be entertaining. So then they kind of lose the vision and they can't tune in. And I see a lot of Christians come out with like Christian rock bands. I know why they're doing that. They're doing that so that people, number one, can kind of feel like together when they're
that community aspect.
Yeah.
Is there an equivalent in Islam? Is there kind of faith-filled Muslim music that younger generation gravitates towards?
I mean, now there is, because you see all sorts of things happening. I am a conservative, right? And that can mean so many things, right? But what it really means is someone who tries to correlate their spirituality to Allah, right? And doing something just to do it, that's not spiritual. Yeah, you might catch some youngsters doing it, but I do see a lot of like Muslim groups and bands or whatever you want to say trying to get together, but I just feel that that doesn't hold any substance in it. It's
So
just
for you really, and this is the kind of the conservative perspective in Islam, is that Allah is the center and should be the center of your life.
well.
And
I'll add something to that.
yeah, please.
Allah is the center, but we must have immense love for Muhammadur Rasulullah, which is the messenger of Allah, which is Muhammad, the last prophet. And I really, really think that the love of the prophet is what is missing. The understanding of the prophet, the love of the prophet. If someone were to delve into the prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's, which means peace and blessings be upon him, his life, they'll understand his vision. They'll know that they are a part of that vision, and that will lead them to God. That will lead them to Allah. Yeah.
It's interesting as you share that, this metaphor of following or liking people on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. You're suggesting, hey, we need to follow that prophet.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, with this state of kind of the generation that we're in, what are the benefits if it's if it's so countercultural? What are actually the benefits that you see in being a Muslim, to being able to have some resiliency tools that come from that faith to get through hard times in their lives? And maybe if you have a personal experience too of how your faith got you through some hard things.
So first and foremost, I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but being a resilient Muslim in America is really hard if you are actually practicing Islam. What do people usually resort to when things get tough is just hang it up. And I don't want to really associate with, who I am. And that's not what Americans are about, right? But because of the pressure of the media and the notion that Muslims are a specific way, a lot of Muslims, they crack under that pressure and they don't fall under any resilience. But on the positive end, those who kind of stick it out, right? They rely on Allah, on God, having understood that, look, I didn't have a choice of being in this country, right? Or I don't have a choice of how I look or who I am or where I was born. This was an act of God. And if I look at it as an act of God, as an act of Allah, that I was born and raised right here in America, and even though it might not always fit the description that people want, me knowing and believing that God did this will give me some of that light of resilience. And having a collective vision. A lot of Muslims should present their Islam openly to the public so that all of the questions can kind of disappear by setting an example of who we are, right? And so that people can approach you and ask questions. And when questions are answered, then it doesn't matter what the media says. A person will always think to themselves, yeah, but I actually met a Muslim. I know Imam Muhammad Fasih. I know him. And that's not what he represents. And that has a lot of resilience in it, going against the grind, the grain, and kind of being resilient in every aspect. Now it hurts because every time we flip on the news or something, we're always kind of on edge. Like, is it going to be a Muslim name? Is it going to be something? And I know that feeling. And I just say that it's part of the struggle. It is part of the struggle. Specifically, again, I keep saying that if someone was born and raised here and you believe in God, then that was all from God, right? So that's your story, right? Kind of live up to your story and make the best of it. And it's not that bad because people at the end, everyone wants the same thing, right? People are really open to having discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So really the number one, what I hear you saying, Muhammad, is the number one resiliency tool or aspect of your faith that brings resilience is to trust that God has meant this to be for you.
Yeah.
That this is his doing, and as you align yourself with his will, with what he is wanting for you, ultimately you'll be blessed.
Yeah. You will be blessed.
Now, I'm curious, that principle, that concept of trusting in God certainly is across so many world faiths.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, in Islam, I know some of in the books of Moses, thinking about Abraham, for example.
Right.
Could you speak to, are there models? Maybe Abraham's one, maybe there's some others. I'm sure the Prophet Muhammad as well, who you look to for getting strength from that model of trusting in God?
Absolutely. And again, I'll refer back to our book. If we were to pick up the Quran and just look at the second chapter, which is literally the second page, because the first chapter is quite small, short.
Mm-hmm.
God says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ. This, technically it's that, but this book, right? God starts explaining who is it for. هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. It's a guidance for those who are aware of God, right? So he says ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ. Sorry, the point that I was trying to make is ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That this book or that book, the first thing Allah says is there's no doubt in it. So the reader will pick up the book with I wonder, like, what is this all about? And God answers that question that is floating in their heart, that this book, there's no doubt in it. It's for those people who love, who fear, who are aware of Allah, of God. That's the first thing. The second thing about having that reliance, and I'll take from your example of Abraham, right? There's a story in the Quran where Abraham questioned God. He questioned Allah, and he said, Arani kayfa tuhyi al-mawta. He said, oh Allah, show me, how do you resurrect the dead? Right? And then God asked Abraham, Awalam tu'min? You don't believe that I can do this? And Abraham said, Bala walakinni yatma'inna qalbi. I believe that you can do this, but I'm questioning you to give myself and my heart that contentment. And so God said, take birds, right? And place them on different mountains, right? And he actually said, like, harvest the birds, right? Right? So cut them and put them on different mountains. And so all of these are dead birds being placed on different mountains. Then he said, stand away and stand back, and then call all of them to you. Watch how I resurrect all of them, and they start flying back to you. Paraphrasing. So if that was the struggle of a prophet that was sent to God, right? And he had these questions, but then once he relied on God, he found the answer. We also extract the same.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean is it's not going to be like a magical, perfect world. You are going to have questions. You are going to sort of doubt. But take all of that not to your own intellect, but rely on God fully, completely. And understand that if this was the question and the struggle that the prophets had, you definitely will have that. And if you believe, then you will find the answer, just like how Abraham found his answer.
Oh, that's great. That's as you're talking about relying on God, it's kind of the foundational principle here.
Yeah.
Are there other elements that you see as that can help build a person's resilience within your faith? For example, what does an active participant look like? How would one actively be involved, and how does that help build their inner strength?
So God also says in the Quran, وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ, be with the righteous, right? So an active way of participating and kind of building up that resilience is being around practicing Muslims, not being that person who's out and trying to figure it out all on their own. Islam is something that calls towards community, right? And it's very beautifully done in America. More, I would almost say more beautifully than in majority of the other countries, regardless if they're Muslim countries or not. Why? Believe it or not, over here we have the right and the freedom to practice and to be spiritual to the furthest extent. You can go to your mosque. You can break fast there. You can do everything. I mean, I actually haven't came across anything you can't do. I mean, you can go to a park. You can give the call to prayer, right? And you can gather there. You can pray there. You can have a barbecue after. Like, you can do all of these things and just be yourself. That in itself, holding that, and then the thing that makes it so unique about here is you have all kinds of Muslims. You have Muslims of European descent. You have Black folks. You have Mexicans. You have Filipinos. And then you have Arabs and Pakistanis and Indians and all these others. But particularly white and Black Muslims, when you're around them, then you're like, yeah, this is what this is all about. You have Muslim Americans who are practicing just as they ought to be, right? And it gives everyone this sense of belonging, community, and it strengthens people's faith.
So really, really difficult to fully practice your faith in Islam on your own. Certainly, there are the individual aspects of trusting in God and submitting oneself to the Prophet, but also gathering together. You see that as a really important aspect to the faith if one wants to build resilience and inner strength within Islam. Gathering together for worship and regular prayer and at the mosques, the kind of the center of the community.
Yeah. So, I mean, to add to your point, it's actually you get more blessings and reward when you pray together at the mosque in comparison to praying on your own in your house or wherever you are. So there's an incentive, a spiritual incentive there that should motivate someone to, okay, I have 5 prayers. Let me make the best of it and pray with my brothers and sisters at the masjid, at the mosque, instead of praying at home.
I see. What are those what would those blessings look like? Are we talking about like spiritual blessings, physical blessings, both?
It's actually mentioned in Numbers. It's the blessing of praying in the masjid, in the mosque, is 25 to 27 times more rewarding than praying on your own.
Wow.
It's like very, very specific.
And what does that mean, more rewarding? What
So
what does that look like?
so the salah, the prayer, has like you can almost look at it as I don't want to say like levels, but there's an effect there. So the spirit
Levels of intensity, kind of.
intensity and so there's two aspects. One is rewards, and we believe that there are angels writing everything down.
I see.
Right? So the angels would write more rewards for this person's action. And then there's an aspect of the effect that that prayer has. So one effect that the prayer gives the congregant is inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. Verily, the prayer will stop someone from committing immodest acts and disobedience.
Oh, wow. So this is, yeah, that's a huge resilience tool. I mean, the prayer in Salah
yeah,
is going to, the belief is that through that prayer, the efficacy, the spiritual efficacy of that prayer is just gigantic, because it's going to bless them.
It'll bless them, and it'll give them that spiritual insight that outside of this prayer, I have to be that individual who prays. I can't be an open sinner. You know, that's
so it protects them in a way it protects them from the world, from sin,
from the disobedience of the Creator. You know, yeah, absolutely. It has the prayer has that effect. That's what God says in the Quran. That verily inna salata, verily the prayer will prevent someone from committing immodest acts and disobedience.
I can imagine too, Muhammad, that you mentioned earlier, a few minutes ago, you mentioned how difficult it has been to remain active as a Muslim here, even though there are lots of freedoms, but because of some of the sort of the stereotyping, things like that, how difficult that is. But I can imagine coming together in the community and praying together, how much strength that must bring.
Yeah. And I give credit to the churches and the synagogues, particularly in Marin County. You know, when some of these unfortunate events unfolded and the perpetrators were identified as Muslims, wow, we had so much support from Christians and Jews, let alone Muslims.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. And that really helps. And I think that's what this is all about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Boy, there are so many overlaps too with these different world faiths, and it's very clear to me too that this has been, I imagine having 5 kids yourself and trying to raise children in this world and in the community, and growing up yourself through this has brought you personally so much peace and resilience in your life. And I know we're kind of coming to the end of our time. I wonder if, would you like to just share one or two more of your own principles of your own belief, and what's strengthened you personally in your life growing up through Islam?
Thank you so much once again, Chaplain Williams. This has been wonderful. So what has strengthened me, and we are all weak, right? No one is holier than thou, how they say, right? But the thing that really personally strengthened me is falling more in love again and again with our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him. And with that being said, like to the listeners and to everyone, I want to say that if someone really wants to understand Islam, then they should actually delve into the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't take it from a local news outlet or whatever, right? Don't take it with someone who has a bias. All of that is out there. But reach out to a Muslim. And it's events like this that actually, like I was saying in the beginning, dismantle all of the negativity around Islam. But if they don't have a Muslim to reach out to, then with a sincere and genuine heart, look into the life of Muhammad, the last prophet. And in his life, by reading his life, a person will understand and get a better glimpse of what Islam actually is. Yeah, and that has personally helped me time and time and again, is reflecting on the life and strengthening my love for the last prophet. May peace and blessings be upon him. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Muhammad, so much for your faithfulness and just for who you are and the ministry that you provide and the lives that you're touching through all that you're doing. And also, God bless you, continue to bless you in that and with your 5 children as well.
Yeah.
And it's been great to talk with you. I wish you all the best today. And for all those listening, again, feel free to subscribe to our channel and you can share this with others as well. So peace be with you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a good one.